Hey, everybody, welcome. And thank you for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. My name is Zach Brittle. I'm here with Brian and Kristen again. Listen, I'm not a homework guy. I don't do a lot of homework in my sessions. Clients will say, hey, will you give us homework or whatnot? And I think, sure, I'll give you homework. I got all kinds of ideas and I'm happy to give them to you. But the reality is it doesn't matter what you do. It matters that you do. And if I give you homework, I can't tell you how many times people have come back and said, oh, we forgot what it was, or we did it last night. These guys, Brian and Kristen, they did their homework. They got ahead of the curve. They came prepared. They actually emailed me in advance of this chat that we're having today with some ideas about how their argument typically goes. And we talked today about some ways that they can pivot out of that. If you have the same argument over and over again and it's kind of boring to you, then maybe there's something here for you. I am always edified by motivated clients who are doing their work. So I think you'll appreciate that too when you listen to these guys. In the meantime, I'll remind you, as of this moment, I think we're just a few people shy of maybe 5,000 on Instagram, which is exciting. If you've been around long enough to know that we're doing Operation Blue Check, I do think 5,000 is the threshold. So maybe we get our blue check here pretty soon. That's exciting. You can follow us on Patreon. I do want to thank the new Patreon folks who have come on board that community just to support Marriage Therapy Radio and the folks that are listening to Marriage Therapy Radio as a supplement to their own therapy. I'm grateful that we can provide this context for folks. Brian and Kristen too. If you heard them last week, you know kind of how they use the podcast and yeah, maybe that's you too. If you have an opportunity to contribute through Patreon, you can do that at marriagetherapyradio.com. There's a Patreon page there, or you can go to patreon.com/MTR. And, as always, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review. That's always helpful. We're just trying to grow and continue to reach as many folks as possible. I had a couple of interactions this last week with some folks that have agreed to come on the podcast, and I'm actually really excited. These are intriguing conversations with folks who have a thing, and that thing has something to tell us about how relationships work. So I'll be sharing those with you coming up here pretty soon. For now, we're going to hang out with Brian and Kristen again. I think that you will enjoy hearing from them, learning from them. I learned from them. They are good folks, and this is a very cool conversation. Stick around. How are you guys doing?
I think good.
I think we're doing all right.
Yeah. The goal last week was... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
How do you know? How do you know if you're doing good?
Yeah.
Or we're doing all right?
Well, we haven't had any...
I don't think we've had any misunderstandings since we talked to Zach last.
No. And we've had more laughter and play, I think.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not a lot more, but just that reminder that, to be lighthearted. And I think making the steps was great because now they're on paper and we see them and know them. And we agreed on, I made my own set and he made his own set. And then we together put a new set out there. So it's like we agreed to what is the pattern.
Yep.
Which made it easier to see.
Yeah.
Those
You're
triggers.
Talking about the homework assignment.
The homework assignment, yeah.
Yeah. I want to get to that in a second, but I always have this question when people talk about we had a good week or we had a good, why?
Mm-hmm.
What made it good? What do you know? And did you do something on purpose? Did you just get lucky? Did the sun come out? How do you know that you had a good week, or how do you know that, or what do you know about why you had a good week, I guess?
The on purpose part is that we did do the homework and we're aware of each other's goals that we had made with you, even if they might have been soft goals. But the other part is that we're on the, it's us against the thing. It's us against the injury. It's us against the kid that's making too much noise. It's us against the hectic schedule. And that feels good. It feels good to be us against something.
Right.
There's a comfort there.
Yeah, we've done that before. Separately and together, I think.
What?
Us versus them type of mentality.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Well, it's comforting being an us with you. I mean, it's comforting knowing that the hectic schedule, the noisy kid, bothers you as much as it bothers me. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was I don't know, Zach. I think part of it is that maybe we did just get lucky in terms of our timeline, because we do seem to go on like time cycles where it tends to crop up. Would you say that's true?
What, conflict?
Yeah. Conflict where we
Well,
go
what do you
through
know about
those
those?
steps anyway. I don't know.
Well, I don't think we fight that often.
No,
So
same.
here, this is something, obviously we chatted after we talked to you last, and I don't think we're a couple that fights all that often. When we were first dating at 20 and 21, I don't think we had a fight that entire first year. I remember that first year of dating being like, wow, who knew it could be this much fun, But
Do you
it seems,
know? Go ahead. Sorry.
well, it seems to be the more that we get to know each other and the more comfortable we are with each other, like that ugly side can come out, or
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty normal. I always say that when you've heard me say that when you get married, you get these two
Yep, the
privileges that you don't really have with anybody else. You get to be naked, basically. You get to be naked and solicit sex. You get to be naked and vulnerable in your pain and your fear. And like, can you do that in ways that are mature in both cases? And in both cases, in theory, that leads to intimacy. And so I like playing around with that. If people think about conflict as a way to intimacy, it can be really groundbreaking, really kind of paradigm shifting. Do you happen to remember what your first fight was? You didn't fight for a year and a half. What was your first fight?
We didn't live together. It must have been something where I wanted to do something and you weren't into it, or vice versa.
Probably something silly like that. I mean,
I don't know. It's been 20 years, man.
Yeah. The reason I ask is I remember Rebecca and I's first fight very clearly. We were,
Really?
and it's actually like we're still having the same fight. We were fighting over whether or not O.J. Simpson was guilty or innocent.
That's right.
And it was well after the verdict, and all of that noise. And I'm a person who really keys in on justice, and I was certain that he was guilty. And Rebecca's a person who's very keyed in on like grace. And so since he was acquitted, like we have to give him the benefit of the doubt. And so he, I believe it. And so we went, we just went at it, and we were kind of like surprised how neither of us felt super strongly about the issue, but we did feel strongly about the themes we were protecting. Mm-hmm. I was protecting this idea that there's a right and a wrong and a good and a bad, and you got to be on the right side or you're going to be in trouble. And she was trusting the system and believing in, human nature. And, we still argue about that thing. Almost every argument that we have. So that's why I wondered if you knew what it was and if you had any remembrances about the themes.
I bet our first arguments were just silly, petty. I can't remember them. I can remember some weird ones, but not from those super early days. Like one weird one is like we were engaged and we took this drive in the car, and we had pretty much the whole car ride fight about the cake, like planning the cake.
Okay.
And what a way to ruin a car ride. Like I look back now and I'm like,
and
what
a cake.
Yeah, like what a waste. And I don't think in the end we didn't do any of the cake ideas that we had talked about on the car ride. It ended up morphing into something so much better.
Yeah, we had 12 cakes.
We had a lot of cakes.
Oh, that's awesome.
We had 12 different cakes because we couldn't decide on which one we wanted, and so we just got 12 small.
Well, I think it was like 2 or 3 flavors, but many of them around the table. Yeah. But anyway, what a waste of time.
Yeah.
What a waste of a car ride. And the reason I can still remember it is because that kind of fight that we had. You remember that?
No.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that at all. No. The first one that I can really remember is I think it was like the birth control arguments when nothing I did was right.
We did fight a lot when I was on hormonal birth control. That's true. The only time we really came close to ending the relationship.
That was that.
And instead we just ended that birth control, and then the two of us soared on.
Yes.
And now we have 17 children.
No. Everybody out of the pool.
Yeah. How many children do you have?
2.
Yeah, right on. And how old are they?
13 and 8. Yep. And the 13-year-old is so clued in and so empathically sensitive, like his old man, that he now knows our steps. We may have mentioned that in the email. He knows our steps. And so he'll like come and try to intercede. And like, so we're having a discussion, or like, we're going through our steps.
Doing the thing.
He'll literally walk over and to one of us be like, need a hug? Or even like from the sidelines be like, guys, it doesn't sound like that big a deal.
Yeah.
I know this isn't a parenting podcast, but how do you keep your kids' opinions out of your marriage?
I don't know. I think the best thing for kids is for them to see the whole life cycle of an argument. Like if it's going to happen, no matter what, like fine. And giving them language is key. But as long as they can see the end result, the repair, kind of the come back together, then they finally have a whole thing they can work with, not just the way it starts or the way it goes, but like how does it end? That's actually a really critical piece of the occasion. How do you keep their opinions out of your relationship? Man, I don't know. Particularly when they start really having them, like mine have fully formed opinions about how the world works and how politics work and how weather systems work and how what art means. Sometimes you just have to like kind of go, thank you for your opinion. Appreciate it.
Right.
Yes. Please pass the butter. Another part of the pattern, though, that we hinted at, and I wonder if you're aware of, is when do you argue? Like, do you argue more in the winter? Do you argue more when you're on your period? Do you argue more on Thursdays? Do you argue more when one or both of you feels especially lonely or sad or hungry? Like, do you know when you tend to go through these phases? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Do you know when these things pop up for you?
That's a big piece of it, Halt. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I don't know that we get to the hungry or lonely part as much, but, if you're unwell or sick or in pain, Brian's had chronic pain as part of his adult life on and off. And that's a good way to like get on someone's last nerve, is to just talk to them when they're in chronic pain.
One of the things that's kind of come up lately is I've been on psychotropic meds for almost as long as we've been in a relationship. And over the past 6 months?
9 months?
6 months? Yeah, maybe 6 months. I've been titrating down with one of them. And it's weird when you're on the same med for 20 years.
Yeah.
You're like, and it's kind of, for lack of a better word, it's kind of a mind fuck, because you don't know like what will it be?
Yeah.
Who's the dude behind the curtain? And so one of the things I found was that the amount of cognitive energy that I've had to spend on not saying the unhelpful thing has vastly increased.
Because it's easier for you not to say the unhelpful thing on the meds that you were taking in the way that you were taking them.
You got it.
So pulling that off has made it a little bit harder.
Yes. And
interesting.
There was a really steep learning curve for me because I didn't know what I was going to find.
Yeah.
And so what I found was that like the unhelpful thing, instead of being like, kind of at the back of my mind, oh, it would really feel good to put in a well-placed barb here, but I don't know what it is, It's fully formed and like on the tip of my tongue, and I really have to dial it back to be like, don't do it, baby, don't you do it. And I said this to Kristen, and she's like, you just described PMS. I'm like, oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So like all the things that like, yeah, that's really interesting. Cause
Yeah.
I think that with us, we do have a harder time historically, when, you're about to get your period.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. It's exactly what PMS is exactly what Brian just described. The problem's
Yeah.
always there all month long. I can kind of roll with it or deal with it or say let them or whatever. And there's just like a day and a half there where that filter.
You have to work that much harder.
Mhm.
Yep. But that's been like kind of not,
That's a recent thing.
that's a recent thing. I think,
I think for us, it's stress,
Yep.
like the things. It's that baseline stress. You
Yeah.
know, a hectic schedule, 2 working parents, kids that want something all the time.
Kids that need food
All
and
the
water
time.
and roof under
All
their
the
head.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the time.
they're not like hard kids.
They're not.
We've done the work. We've like laid a really solid foundation, for them.
It's just a lot of
It's
giving
just
of
a lot.
yourself.
Yeah.
Give of yourself to your job. Give of yourself, and then you come home and you've got this person and you're just, that tired piece plays in there.
Well, I think, if nothing else, we'd want to draw attention just to that, like a big part of when and how conflict occurs is about our physiology. I mean, like if you're physiologically not well, either because you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or because your body is decided that it's that time of the month, or your brain is having to work that much harder to connect synapses and make meaning out of things, then we have to respect that, honor that, because sometimes the kindest thing you can do in an argument is go, you know what? I'm happy to have this conversation, but probably after I have a sandwich, or you know what? Can we talk about this after the weekend? Because I have a period. I'm going to get my period, and I'll be in much better headspace in a couple of days. And I never want to denigrate or blame a woman's period for her like bad mood or something. But the reality is that it's just, our bodies are communicating with us in lots of different kinds of ways, and some of those ways don't mean we have access to our best emotional skills. Brian, but I want to get into your list here, your steps. But I wonder if you have any, let's just call it advice for folks out there who might say, I don't want to take medication. Like I'm not interested in meds. That doesn't seem like the way I want to solve this problem. Because it's the one thing I hear a lot when people are talking about their depression or their ADHD or whatever else. They're like, yeah, but I don't want to rely on medicine. How have you come to terms with that for yourself?
I have a major mental health diagnosis, which I acquired after I was put on a psychotropic med in my teens. So there was a kindling effect where I had a manic episode because of the meds that I was on, and then that's it. Like that's your diagnosis. Like even if you only have one or maybe one more episode, that's your diagnosis. It's not like you grow out of it.
Well, you've been on meds since then.
And I've been on meds since then. So like for me, the answer is so obvious because I know how hard it was to be in that skin. Like, yeah, I could go off meds and like write music nonstop that I think is great and everybody else thinks is kind of mediocre. or I could like write a ton of like science fiction and all this stuff. And I would have wellspring of creativity and I would never run out of ideas and all this stuff.
But
and
you're a
I
great
would
friend. You weren't a great son.
I wasn't a great friend. I wasn't a great son. I would have been a lousy father. I don't know that I don't know that I would have gotten together with Kristen if I hadn't been stable. And I think that that is just so much more valuable to me than being able to say I don't feel like being on meds. That being said, I can say because I've been in because I have had a provider, a psychiatric med provider for as long as I have, I know that it's not a quick fix. My diagnosis, I have I guess you could say I have high functioning bipolar. And what that means is that it responds to meds well, and it responds to a couple meds. It doesn't need a med, and then you have to have a med to manage the huge side effect profile of the med that you're on. So I have a lot of respect for people who say, I just can't do it. I've tried and I've tried and I've tried and I've tried. I have less respect for people who say, I'm not going to. I'm not even going to try. Because it is very, very hard. And it's hard to titrate up and it's hard to titrate down. And you don't know what you're going to get, which is what I've reminded myself of recently. So I don't know if that's advice.
I don't know
strictly.
if you've answered his question.
That's okay. I mean, I think people need more language than they have, and it doesn't need to come from me if it can come from somebody who's actually doing it. Although I do have a second question, which is, if you found a cocktail that works for you, what's the motivation to dial it down?
Yeah. Partially because, I guess mostly curiosity, but also I've been living more mindfully and taking on meditation and trying to be more active with my body and knowing what I know about how the brain works and doesn't work. I wanted to see if I could decrease one of the two psychotropic meds that I'm on and still be okay.
This has been years that we've talked about this. Years. We've sort of planned loosely and talked about if it was a possibility and tried to talk to providers to see, do you agree with us? Could we try something like lowering them down? And, I think the bottom line is when you first got on these meds, you were at a totally different place in life, 20 years old or probably younger. And, partying, being loose and wild and free, taking risks. And that's not how we live now. We have a nice, steady life. We like a slow, quiet weekend. We go to bed at the right time. We eat right. So we're going to give it a try.
And another newly discovered answer to your question, which may muddy the waters of the advice bit, is I've had chronic pain for almost as long as I've been on the meds. And
we're starting to think that maybe they're linked.
Right. My occupational therapist was like, well, do you think that it's a side effect of one of the meds that you're on? And I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so I found out that one of them, the one that I'm currently titrating down on, is has a muscle pain side effect. And it's okay, well,
so we'll find out.
Maybe you don't have to be in chronic pain. That'd be amazing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
So this probably isn't what you were thinking of what you wanted to talk about today. So
it comes in two levels, right? One of them is this idea of, preconditions. The reality is when people have psychological disorders or pathologies or diagnoses that make it harder to do relationship, it's important to understand how that plays into the couple's dynamic, right? And that could be an addiction, that could be a diagnosis of some sort, a mental health diagnosis. It could be all kinds of things that make couples therapy harder. And couples therapy is harder when those things are present, when some other things are present. It's harder when there's too much chaos. It's harder when there's an affair or a secret lover somewhere. So just part of doing good, responsible couples therapy is understanding what are you dealing with on the diagnostic side or on the behavioral side that if you don't deal with that, it's not going to be effective for couples work, So I'm actually just curious about it because so many people, particularly with depression and ADHD are the two that I see the most, are resistant to taking medication because they don't want to solve it pharmacologically. They want to solve it relationally. And sometimes you can't solve it relationally unless you do solve it pharmacologically. So it's kind of a strange, I don't know. I just like hearing people talk about it because a lot of people's mythology about the medications is based in just stuff that they've kind of collected or heard along the way. It's not actually, well stewarded or well managed. Yeah.
Or it's like you say with learning about relationships. You got one model for it, which was your parents, or maybe your neighbor if you had really close neighbors. And
or something. Yeah.
My God, if you don't have somebody in your family who takes their mental health seriously and manages it seriously, then of course your only model for it is like the after school specials that you see about that crazy person who didn't take their meds. Oh, well, I'm not them, so I don't need to take meds. And there's that like cognitive dissonance that happens.
Yeah.
So kind of trying to close the gap here. When I said, I'll work on it forever, but is it always me? This is coming from a very deep place of feeling like the one who has more problems. And, that's so I already, it's a story I tell myself. Kristen has said that's not what I'm walking around with thinking you're the problem, Brian. I hope you know that. I love you. And it's a curious thing about depression and about
because you're walking around thinking you're the problem.
Yeah.
Because your brain just easily lends that way.
Well, right, and it's like I don't know if you've experienced this with your own journey, Zach, or with people that you work with, is that compliments and well wishes when you're in a depressive state or when you have a history of a depressive state ring false.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like somebody's blowing smoke, or somebody's like, you don't know that. I'm not a good person. Why are you saying that? There's like a really deep, like, no, you're wrong.
Lie.
Yeah, that's a lie.
Yeah.
So
it's a lie that depression wants to tell you.
Yep.
It's a lie that the depression is telling us.
Even though I know that, it's still there.
Yeah,
it's still there, And I'm not like depressed right now.
Well, that's why you have to learn how to pay attention to the voices that are telling you the truth. Yeah, that's the thing that's hard. And
so walking around thinking you're the problem. That's the truth. That's right now.
Yep,
it's real.
Yep. So I remember you also saying, Zach, that when you feel defensive, it's because you feel you have something to defend.
Yeah.
And so that's something that and I don't know if you said that directly to us or if you've said that on the podcast and I heard it and I was like, okay. So over this past week, I've been thinking a lot about that. What am I trying to defend and who am I trying to defend it from?
Yeah. It's a really cool question. And the other thing is, like, people don't usually defend the silver. They defend the gold. So, whatever you're defending is actually the thing that is most valuable to you. And we need to figure out what that is so that you can actually, spend it appropriately, like steward it, not just hoard it and protect it, Do you have any sense of it? What you're trying to defend? Because I want to chuckle a little bit.
I think so, but go on.
Well, step one of your problem is Kristen says something or asks a question, makes a request, or asks for more information. It's like, it's about as benign as it can be, or it's about as neutrally flat as it can be. Kristen says something, or she asks a question, or she makes a request.
And we didn't agree on all those steps, but that step, we were both like, yep, that's where it starts.
It starts with
It has to
you.
start there. That's somewhere.
Well, it starts with Kristen having a need, and then it sounds like that means Brian's not enough.
Yep.
And that comes from the lie that depression is telling you.
Yep.
So this is why it's so important to make sure that you're stewarding the part that you can steward to protect you from the thing that you want to do next, which it looks like you just want to either, well, step 2 says Brian responds quickly or pauses and doesn't say anything. So Brian fights or flees. Yeah?
Yeah.
Brian goes straight to
I'm not
trauma
there
response.
yet. I'm not there at the fight or flight for step 2. Fight or flight happens.
That's what we have. We gave that to him. He's reading.
Yes.
B responds quickly or pauses and doesn't say anything. That's fight or flight.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I mean, it's okay. We're just wandering around. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, tell me about this pattern. What do you know about it already? Is it that you're immediately in contest with not just Kristen, but with all of the other voices telling you that because the world isn't exactly the way Kristen wants it, it's probably your fault?
I would say that step 2 for me is about work that I believe I've done. I think I've done. Which is put some frickin' space between what you just heard and what you think you heard. And actually, when I did my list, I did a list that, because I was, I don't know if 10 is like a severe number or a random number. But I was having a hell of a time trying to get to 10. So I was like, okay, well, sometimes it stops at step 4. Because what I'll do is I'll pause on a good day. I'll pause on a good day, and she says something, and then I say, yeah, you're right. X is X. And then that's it.
Yeah, we did have a couple versions of this list that read more like a choose your own adventure. Like, do you want to go this way? Or did you take it like this?
Yep.
But the list, we gave Zach a list, which was, it doesn't go right.
If I read step 2 like a flow chart, it's either 2A is you respond quickly, or 2B is the healthier choice where you pause and you don't say anything. And that's the thing that you're describing, where you are practicing not just saying the first thing that comes up to your mouth. Is that the way?
Yep.
Step 2 is meant to be?
And sometimes I think my pause is a little, it's a pregnant pause that's carried to term, perhaps. And, and that's when she says, don't read too much into this. I'm just. And then, like, I go, I must be reading too much into this. If I pause
now it's
for
not
too
even
long,
the topic anymore.
That's right. Yeah.
That's it.
Interesting.
And we're in.
That's it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Now it's not the topic anymore. Now it's like, it's funny because then number 2 happens because of number 1, and number 3 happens because of number 2. But then because number 3 happens because of number 2, number 1 gets lost. It's gone. Now we're not talking about the thing that you said or the question that you need or the way that you go.
Yeah, it's been hijacked.
It sounds, Brian, like you don't like the word just. Don't read too much into this. I'm just, and then you stopped. You were like, I'm just, and as soon as you hear just, it's almost like you feel dismissed or diminished.
No, it's not. It's not the just. It's more the don't read too much into this. It's like, you're telling me don't read too much into this. What am I supposed to not read too much into? I must be reading too much into this. All right, everybody hold on. I'm going to overthink this. you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes to
Are you reading too much into it?
Maybe, probably, perhaps.
Maybe, probably, perhaps. Do you know what that's from?
No, is it from something?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Well, maybe, probably, perhaps. It's in my mind, it's the Ghost of Christmas Present from the movie Scrooged with Bill Murray in it. Carol Kane plays her; she's amazing. Anyway,
oh, nice.
Yeah, it goes to like you feel called out.
That's it.
You feel called out, and then that kind of hijacks the original thing, and now we're dealing with a hurt feeling and not the request, the question.
Yep. So,
what did we have for step 4? You're looking
step
at
4
it?
has Brian has overthought things, begins to mount a defensive response. Like internally, I think that you just modeled that for us, where you said, "I must be reading too much into this."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're doing some storytelling. You climb up in your head and you immediately begin telling stories about how you're not enough and how you can't. You somehow are responsible for the thing that Kristen is articulating, and that means that you are less than.
Right.
And you know what's funny, Zach, is we talked to you maybe 2 weeks ago, and the potential for this list, the potential for this conflict pattern to arise has come up a handful of times.
It has.
And I think both of us knew it. And we both kind of were like, oh, like, are we going to go there? We did just put this down on paper. We know what this is now. There's no denying it. We told Zach about it.
Drop the script.
And then we kind of moved away. Like we didn't even engage in the steps.
Yeah.
And so it's totally possible. I think it helps to like bring it out and put it on the table and say, hey, this is how this comes about.
Yeah. And
to
I think
put the
literally
steps on paper.
Yeah. And I think when you put them down, I mean, literally choosing to do anything else at any point is going to begin to facilitate change, you know? So even if it's number 1, I don't know, you know, again, pretty benign. Kristen says something, but should you contract to say something and say, you know, my favorite contracting question is now a good time? But, hey, I want to ask a question about this weekend is now a good time? Or can I get, or just tell me when is a good time? Again, I think it's all mini contracting without accusing or anticipating that Brian will be in this hungry, angry, lonely, tired headspace. You do want to check in and go, hey, can I make sure that I get the guy who's doing the work to make sure that he knows it's not his fault because depression is lying in him? Can I talk to that guy?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
And then Brian, you'd have to call him up somehow, you know? Yep. Hold on. Let me put on my big boy pants and get ready for your question, you know? And then even if the question is about you, like, why did you think we could be in 2 places at once this weekend? Because there's baseball over here and there's soccer over there, and you didn't, you know, even if it is about you and maybe you dropping the ball, the part of you that's tapped into your like truth storytelling, that you're just a guy trying to make it in the world, doing the best he can, know how to love his wife and his family or whatever else, the more you can tap into that, you can go, you know what? It's a good question. I'm not really sure. I wonder if we can figure this out together, because baseball and soccer, or what do they have? What kind of nerve do they have getting scheduled at the same time? Now, again, we've done that thing that you've already described, which is we've externalized it and made those guys the third thing.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, even again, if step 1 is simply Kristen opens her mouth, maybe there's just a way to do that comes with some kind of agreement, sometimes of careful agreement that's full of care, so that you don't set yourselves up for misses.
Yeah, 100%. That's
one of the.
It seems simple, but it's, you know, hungry, angry, lonely, tired is a real thing, and it seems like a simple idea. Like I said, putting it out there is a huge. It levels the playing field a bit. here's that thing we're working on.
Yeah.
Let me do this mini contract with you because you already know that thing is out there on the table and we're trying to work on that. We're trying to be gentle around that or get better at that.
One of the guests that you had on, I think it was Matthew Frey and his wife, because
New
one
partner,
of my
yeah,
commutes,
Jen.
sorry, yes, has my commute has increased, so I have had some time to catch up on my things that I need to catch up on, and she they talked about blind spots,
Yeah.
and I feel like Kristen is just navigating a lot of my blind spots, or a lot of blind spots where she's like, dude, I didn't know that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
What's step number 5? Is it that I physically step back?
Yep.
Yeah, because there's a lot. I feel it even talking about it, because there's so many times when we get to that point and I'm like, I really am like, what happened? Where'd you go?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it me? Are you mad at me now? So yeah, that's me trying to navigate a blind spot. Would you say? So what you're
Yep.
describing?
And I think the unhelpful part of my unhealed child is looking for. This is the answer to the question that you gave earlier. Like, what's going on? Like, what's behind that? And I think the answer is that my part of me is looking for something to feel justified. Like, I feel so jacked up right now. This is so unfair that I feel this way. I really want to blame someone, but it's nobody else's fault. So, and so then I'll glom on to some little turn of phrase or some tone, and I'll be like, there it is. That's the thing. That's the thing that I was waiting for, and now I'm justified. And watch out, because I need to defend myself from that.
Yeah. And it's easy now because you can just drop right into the script and you don't have to actually think or work or grow,
Yep.
I think you've heard me say it many times. I think my favorite repair is this, smack my head and go, we're doing it again. That thing that we do, we're like on step 5. Like literally we're doing step 5 and you're about to do step 6. Like what if we did something else right now? Even if that was, well, how about we just get some ice cream? Or how about we just, each of us go splash some water on our face? Or how about we just, honor the fact that your adaptation, your wounded child is like got something to say, or your adaptive child's got something to say. But then we go back to the top and say, can we talk about the thing? Just the thing, not the way we're treating it, but like we're doing it again. Let's not do the thing again, but let's go back to the thing. Because it's this inner voice that you got to quiet. Brian, you have to quiet this inner voice so that you don't get, hijacked. And then Kristen needs to learn how to flip the script a little bit too. I mean, again, the fact that you have some just straight up, lines and quotes that are tired and old and cliches of their own. Maybe we need to negotiate new language to help acknowledge, that in fact, no, you shouldn't read too much into this, but we know that phrase is going to solicit the next thing almost because muscle memory dictates it. So even just kind of going, we're doing it again. Or, any kind of signal or any kind of just new sentence. And it's fun to brainstorm them and figure out like, that's not going to work anymore. So we need a different one. That's where I would go with, or begin to toy with. But you got 2 fronts that you're battling this on. One is like inside, at least in this case, Brian's brain. Another one is, what are the actual words you're going to use and say to one another to help bring about something like not resolution, but repair, because repair is the goal here. It's not resolution unless there's a specific ask that you have.
What about like redirecting the pattern? You know, like, we're on 5 now.
But at
I don't
least
want to
we're
get
doing
to
that.
6. You don't want to get to 6.
Yeah.
All right. When we get to 5, we walk in opposite directions.
Yeah.
You know, and start redirecting the pattern altogether.
Yeah. Well, 5 is that you step back physically, and maybe there's something like you step in physically, not to endanger yourself, because you're not really in danger, but you literally just put your hands on your sweet boy's face and go, hey, we want the same thing here. We're the same, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm aware of 2 things. I'm aware that we're about to bump up against our time. I don't want to do a disservice to your pattern. The reality is that each number, if I were to read them stepwise, it's not really the point. For those of you who did it at home, it kind of doesn't even matter what's on the list. What matters is that as you look at the list, do you have the freedom and the creativity to think about, like, what are my options here? What other thing could I do here, if only to avoid just repeating the pattern and doing the simple thing, doing the same old thing? Because, you know, what's our friend? Something new and different. What's our enemy? More of the same. We just want to avoid more of the same. I've been telling people, I don't know if I mentioned this last week or not, but this last week, and so I've been asking people in the new year if they have any idea what their partner's number one complaint about their marriage is. Did I ask you this last time?
No, but I feel like I heard you ask somebody.
Yeah, that's
on a
possible.
recent podcast.
It might have just come out. But like, what's your number one complaint? Oh, her number one complaint is that I don't follow through. And I was like, okay, what about if at the end of this year, your only goal was to make sure that was not her number one complaint? It could be any other thing, but it's just not that, you know? So if at the end of this year, the only thing was that it's not this pattern. This pattern is boring and old, and we're retiring it because we're savvy enough to make different moves along the way. That's maturity. That's pretty exciting stuff.
That is pretty exciting.
That is.
Should we start in February or should we start today?
February is the new January.
February is the new January. By the time this episode comes out, it will be February. So I would say just go ahead and just start now, you know?
Yeah, that's a good goal. Let's put that down.
Well, that's some cool stuff. We're going to talk one more time and just see if we can't come up with some insights that help you change the direction or stay perhaps on the right trend line, but do it with a little bit more inertia. So if you think of things that we ought to be addressing next week, even if we pick up here in the pattern, I'll be glad to dive in a little bit deeper. But also, if I need to pick on Kristen a little bit, I'm happy to do that.
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're going to pick on me right now? So quick. No, what?
One thing that overlays the 10 steps is the overfunctioner, underfunctioner dynamic.
Okay.
And we use that language. And it is triggering for Brian. And because it has to do with family of origin stuff where one parent was being called out for not doing anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm course correcting in the opposite direction, or I think I am. And so to be told that I'm missing the mark is a thing as well. But I know that the overfunctioner, underfunctioner dynamic is useful to Kristen to help her understand how we work and don't work. I prefer the dynamic of change partner and accept partner.
Okay.
And guess which one of us is which?
Is this what we're talking about next time?
I would like to.
Sounds like it needs some attention.
This will be great.
Does that sound good to you, Kristen?
That sounds fine. Yeah. I have lots to say, and I'm ready to listen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to park it for today. Thank you for doing your homework. I tell people all the time, I don't think therapy works. I don't think podcasts work. I don't think 12-step groups work. Books don't work. People work, couples work, or they don't. And, one of the things that you guys have going on that is a strength in your relationship is you're actually doing the work. And so for people out there who are listening and trying to figure out, like, how do you make it work? It doesn't matter what you do. It matters that you do. And thank you for doing your homework. And yeah, let's talk about overfunction or underfunction next week and see if we can't find some way to honor that it's actually a dynamic that exists for you and that there may be a way to break it down so that it's not as painful.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Okay, that's segment 2 with Brian and Kristen. Thank you so much for listening. If you do have an opportunity to map your fight or to map your boring argument, go ahead and take it. Write it down as a list. And then at each point on the list, I wonder what opportunities are available to you. What pivots can you make? Because again, it doesn't matter what you do. It matters that you do. And nothing changes if nothing changes. So we're working on making small incremental changes to make our relationship better. So thanks again to Brian and Kristen. And as always, I want to thank you for the time and attention you're putting into making your relationship better today than it was yesterday.